Hello, my name is Brittany Lewis. I attended YFT in 2009 to 2011.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where'd you grow up, Brittany, and what was your home life like?
I grew up in Washington, D.C. My home life was, it wasn't your average, but it wasn't your typical, but it wasn't out of the norm for, I guess, a Section 8 child.
What was the reason you came to YFT? Tell us a little bit about your journey and the journey, obviously, to YFT. Why were you here?
Um, so actually, YFT found me. I was a terrible person in District of Columbia. I was terrible. The court actually had to take my mom to court. DCPS took my mom to court to gain custody of me to send me to a residential program. It was North Springs in Leesburg, Virginia. Miss Maxine from YFT came to me and did an interview with me. I was at the residential almost a year and a half. So I was there for a while. So I turned 17 there. Went in at 16, came out at 17. Miss Maxine came and interviewed me. She was like, hey, these are not your circumstances. My child lawyer or advocate came with her and they were like, hey, the District of Columbia does not want you back home. You are not allowed there. Your only option would be YFT or you would stay here until you are 18. And if you would like to pursue it, and if you do not get right in this program, then they will keep you until you're 21, but they will send you to a facility elsewhere that'll be specifically jail like.
What was missing in your life? What are you looking back? What did you need to get done?
As far as
Yeah, what was it? Discipline? Was it uh, goal? Was it finding God? What was missing in your life that caused you to have to go through this?
it wasn't discipline I needed because my mom, I'm adopted, and had me since I was 2. The strictest woman ever. Strict. But once I got older, she's older than me. My mom is 82, I am 32. So imagine a 50 something year old lady raising a 15 and 16-year-old girl. Um, she was on a fixed income, so of course we didn't have a lot. So I had to make choices. It was you do this, and I tried to help out as much around the house as I could. And I would just tell her I was doing, yard work, or when it snowed, I would go out and snow stuff. But I really wasn't doing that. I was just like, hey, mom, here, I just, woo, woo, I saved up some money just to put it towards either the light bill, to get groceries in the house, just to help out with whatever I could. But the way I would obtain that money came in multiple ways. There were drug dealers that I helped set up. There were drug dealers I had sex with. There were people I stole from. Um, One thing I can say is I was never a drug addict. I never was down that path. I never done coke, crack. I was never one of those kids. I just did what I did for survival.
Understood. What was your first impression of YFT when you got here?
Coming back from a lockdown facility, they teach you coping mechanisms. When I first got here, my first day, a female walked up to me and was like, "Oh, she looks ugly." And it took everything in me not to spaz out because I had just got here. I just told Miss Maxine I had changed. So I was trying to really change my life around because I knew the stakes were higher for me than some of the kids here. Some of them could go back home. I couldn't.
Yeah, this was it.
This was a final stop.
So, did you have any folks here that you kind of look back on fondly? Any of the folks that might even be in the lobby right now waiting to say hi to you? Anybody here that you think back on was a difference maker for you?
Um, I had a set of house parents, actually 3. My first house parents were the Mr. and Mrs. Davis. I wasn't as close to his wife as I was so much Mr. Davis, and I can't tell you why, but that's where it started. And then I backtracked a little bit because I got comfortable and I started fighting again. And I had an incident at the house, and then I got locked up here. Um, so I went to the jail here. Dr. Jones, this place wanted to kick me out so bad. But Dr. Jones stood firm and was like, no, I'm bringing her back. I see potential. And Mrs. Jones, about 4'11". I took a liking to her. I love that lady. Like that lady is that lady is a God gift. The Scotts, not so much Mr. Scott, but Mrs. Scott. When I went to college, YFT sent me. Her family lives in Florida, and they took me in while I was down there, so the hardship and transition wasn't as bad. So I've made lifetime connections here, and I can always come back. I can always call. I can always. I'm just grateful.
I know a lot of people are very proud of you, and there's a lot to be proud of. What was the hardest thing about being here, do you think? And you look back, would you have any? No place is perfect. Did you have any times where you wondered, why am I here? And I need to get out of here. Probably a lot, didn't you?
One of the most frustrating things is watching everybody get to go home, and you be like, damn, like I don't even have a home to go to. Like, and of course I miss my mom, but she got older. She started having more strokes and seizures. And one time I went home on a pass, and she had one in the tub, and it was like, was I a trigger? So I tried to stay away from home. And then I know if I went home, I would backslide with my friends, and I was trying to change. So of course it feel like it's frustrating, and you feel like everybody going home, and you just sitting here, and it's just like, dang, like I'm bored now. Like, don't get it wrong, YFT is peaceful. The scenery is changing, it's calming. But after a while, it's just like you're a caged bird. So they started doing activities with us to get us out the house more, which kind of helped for the ones that didn't get to go home or couldn't go home. And the ones that didn't have clothes or shoes, they would go in their own pockets and get us so we wouldn't feel left out when the other kids came back with new stuff. And
What path did your life take after you left?
YFT sent me to college. I learned a couple of things. I came back. I did not finish. That was my mistake. But I can always go back. I did obtain at least 75 credits. I came home. I learned mechanisms that just like I'm not in survival mode anymore. Like there's God. Like I can pray. I don't have to do things that I've done to get by. And I can always call YFT if I really feel like I'm back against the wall. Pastor Danny and his wife, may she rest in peace, by the way. I can always call him. He gave me his card. I do frequently talk to him if I need guidance or if I'm really in a bad place. I don't backslide because I'm 32, and sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes you want to revert back, but I have three little kids now, and I can't.
Tell me
So
about your kids.
there's Braylon. I had him at 26. I believe he saved my life. Honestly, I wasn't doing bad, but he made me push harder. I got married, then I had Ryan, then I got divorced, and kind of was in depression a little bit, but it's okay. Um, then I had my daughter 6 months ago. My kids are my motivation. Like I don't ever want them to feel like they have to do the things I did to survive to end up in a place like this or residential. Like YFT helps you. Don't get it wrong, but I love my kids and I want to give the kids the love I didn't have, so they don't have to go in survival mode.
I would say you're a pretty good success story here at YFT. Any advice you'd give to someone who might find themselves in the same position you were in back then?
When I came to country fair, there were a few girls that I looked at and I could see myself. So I did speak to one little girl and I was just like, listen, God doesn't place you in places to hinder you. Sometimes your blessing is getting out of the home. Sometimes you can't save everybody in the home, and as sad as it is, sometimes you can't always go back. And YFT is that safe place that you need. It blocks out all of your trauma. It gives you a safe place. You don't have to worry about your next meal, your bed, where you're gonna lay your head, clothes. You have. I'm not sure of the staff now, but the staff that we had, we were family. Like Miss Jones could just look at me and I'm gonna get it together. I didn't even have that own respect for my own family. I would tell them give YFT a chance. It saved my life and it could save yours too. Even if you chose to be like, you know what, your time is up and you did your 9 months. If you truly want to stay because you don't want to backslide, go talk to Dr. Jones. Talk to your case manager. They'll make sure that you stay and get the proper guidance that you need. Like they're here to help you, not hurt you.
You wrapping it up, you've mentioned God a couple of times during our conversation. Was God in your life before you came to YFT? Did YFT reinforce or introduce God to you? Did YFT have a spiritual effect on you?
YFT introduced God to me in ways that I didn't connect with him before I got here. Looking back, a couple of those situations that I was doing before I got here, it's only God that got me out. And it didn't, I took to YFT and they did introduce God to me. And because of that, my God, our bond is stronger. I pray when I first wake up now. I thank him just for the simplest things. I realize that I can go to the Bible and it's always a verse that I can read if I'm feeling anxious, if I'm feeling overwhelmed. I know that I can just sit back and I can talk to God how I'm talking to you. I wouldn't have that without YFT.